Hi everyone, and welcome back to a long-awaited video and a very late, very late video. That is where I talk to you about the 173rd Akutagawa Prize results that occurred in the month of July, which really sucks because the timing was awful. The prize announcement was on Friday evening in Japan time, and then I left that weekend for France for 3 weeks. So I wasn't able to film anything, and then by the time I came back, I had to catch up on everything else, and life just kept going. And I kept wondering, well, how do I fit in an Akutagawa Prize video now, 3 months later? But let's just do it anyway. It's ridiculous. So 173rd Akutagawa Prize was a doozy. It was a absolutely doozy. I can't say anything other than that. It was. I'm just gonna tell you. No one won. There were no winners. They chose no winners. No one. Zero. And the thing that's really interesting is that not only did the Akutagawa Prize not declare any winners, but the Naoki Prize, which is declared at the same time, they're a joint prize, where the Akutagawa Prize is the prestigious Japanese award for best literature work of the year for new novelists. The Naoki Prize is the best genre piece of fiction, awarded for also sort of like new kind of beginning of career novelists as well. But they're always announced at the same time. They go together. And this is the first time that Naoki Prize, and well, that's not the first time, but basically Naoki Prize also declared no winners. So this is the very first time, and it was like something like 26 years or so. I had the data, and 27 years ago, that it's been 27 years since both have not declared a winner, right? And then it's been since 1998 that the Akutagawa Prize itself has not declared a winner. So it was crazy news. It was crazy news. But I have to say, the Akutagawa Prize from the very beginning was quite questionable. It was a source of confusion because from the very beginning there were only 4 nominees. Typically there are 5, so there were only 4 nominees this time. So from the very beginning, people were like, okay, there were only 4 nominees. Maybe it was a very weak. It seems like there was a very weak selection to pull from, and so it's kind of surprising. Like, yeah, they just decided, nope, no winner. So let me tell you about all the losers. Basically, I mean, you're free to leave now because no one won. But let me tell you about, at least let me tell you about the nominees. Now, I don't think I'm going to do a good job explaining a lot of these books because they're kind of weird, and maybe that's why they didn't win. I don't know. I ended up pulling all my information from this one article from Yahoo.com, the Japanese Yahoo. I will put the link in the description box so that you can read the article for yourself if you read Japanese, of course. But that's where I'm pulling all my information for this video today. All right, let's talk about the very first book, the very first nominated book or story. This is called Trajectory. In Japanese, trajectory. So using the same word, just in katakana. And this is actually a book written by an American author, Gregory Keズナジャット. There have been a few times an American author has been nominated but has not won yet. So far, the only foreign prize winners have been Taiwanese. So we haven't had an American yet. Nominated twice, but no win from an American yet writing in Japanese. This is not his first nomination. He was originally nominated for another book at Kaikenchi for the 168th Akutagawa Award. I believe that's the prize that I did not post a video about all that. I just ended up skipping entirely because I wasn't sure I'd be doing this every time, but now I am. But yeah, I think I didn't mention that one at all. So what is trajectory about? Trajectory is about basically a English teacher, Brandon, who is kind of tired of his daily life in a traditional eikaiwa school. Eikaiwa school are the Japanese conversation language schools that are very common in Japan. Basically, the stereotype is that foreigners with no skills whatsoever who want to live in Japan come to Japan to become English teachers, and they work for the lowest salary you can get, but they don't care because they get to live in Japan, basically. And then the continuous stereotype is that these people get stuck in these jobs because they didn't have any other skills and they don't take the time to learn Japanese, and so they get stuck as English teachers, and those skills are not transferable to the job market back at home, so they're kind of stuck in a limbo. Anyway, that's the stereotype. Doesn't happen to everyone, it's not the case for everyone, but that is the stereotype of the traditional English language teacher in Japan. So basically, Brandon, our protagonist, is living this sort of life of an English conversation teacher, and he's just kind of tired of it. And then one of his students is also sort of tired of the whole system. The student is obsessed about learning about the Apollo 11 space missions, and basically he has all these recordings, and he asked Brandon to help him translate. So they sort of work on this together. And basically, the book becomes about sort of two characters, one American and one Japanese man, who are both equally dissatisfied with their own countries, their own life in their own countries. They have a sense of the sense of like, both of our countries are supposed to be global powers, but there's something missing, something's not working. Maybe we're not global powers anymore. It seems like more that we're failing, and we're failing at a rapid rate. And so it's these people who feel like they're just living in the wrong time. They're sort of not in the right place. They're not doing what they were supposed to be doing. They kind of, just like their countries have failed at life, they have kind of failed at life. And I don't know if that means the two characters create a bond, but it does give them a sort of shared experience, but something you can see from both sides of the ocean. So that is trajectory. The very first loser, I'm being brutal, the very first loser of the 173rd Akutagawa Prize. I'm just kidding. Anyone who can write a book is a winner in my eyes, because I cannot do that. I could not do that. All right. The second person who did not win is駒田隼也, who wrote the book鳥の夢の場合, which means in the case of a bird's dreams. Okay, this is a weird book. I'm not too sure if I'll be able to explain it very well. So basically, you had 4 people who were living in this room share, in a share house, and 2 of them leave to get married with each other, which leaves 2 others, a man and a woman. And the man and the woman have the idea that they're going to continue living in the share house until they are forced out of it, because obviously the share house isn't full anymore, so it's better just to kick everyone out and do something else with the share house. So before the share house gets dismantled, they get the idea that the 2 characters are just going to keep living in it. However, one of the characters dies. The woman dies, I believe. And you would think the book is about that, but apparently the book isn't about that. The book isn't about dying at all. The problem is that the female character comes back as a ghost, and she's a ghost and she's not happy about being a ghost. So she asks the man to kill her. Yeah, I think that's what the book about. Like she's asking a man to kill her as a ghost, to kill her ghost form. But apparently the man is very hesitant about doing this. He's like, well, what if you're not really dead? Then I'd be killing you. But you're not really dead, which would make me a criminal, basically, are his fears. So basically what they do is they set a deadline to where the man has to finish smoking these 50 cigars that he received from someone else. I don't know why that's important to the story, but apparently it's important to the story. And so it's just, that's the story. He just has to smoke his cigars, and maybe he'll kill her ghost. And then I don't really understand what the theme of the book is. The author of the article says the storytelling was really unique. There's a sort of kill or don't kill problem, which is worked in a very interesting kind of way because it has a unique sense of time that the author of the newspaper article thought was pretty interesting. But that's all I really got out of it. I don't really know what the themes are. I don't know what it's trying to discuss. I don't know. I mean, trying to kill ghosts isn't really incredibly applicable an issue to Japanese society, and usually that is what the Akutagawa Prize tries to celebrate. It's trying to reward people who properly talk about the social mores of Japan, the social issues, the social problems. It could be the good. It's usually the bad. So not really sure what the themes are in this book, but that's the plot of the book. And the person who wrote the article thought it was a pretty decent book, so I'll take them at their word. I'm telling you, I'm not going to do a good job with this prize. I mean, maybe this is why none of these won. I have no idea. The third person who did not win the Akutagawa Prize is向坂くじらfor their book 踊れ愛より痛い方へ, which means dance, but not out of love. Dance until it hurts. Basically, just keep dancing until it hurts you. Now, this author was previously nominated by a book that I was really interested in. Still haven't read it, but it was a book that I was quite interested in, mostly because of its title. If you remember, tell me if you remember me talking about this title. So the previous book that he had been nominated for in the 171st Akutagawa Prize was いなくなくならなくならないで, right? Do you remember that? I was just obsessed with that title. I love the way that flows on my tongue. いなくなくならなくならないで. Oh, I love that. So yeah, his new book is 踊れ愛より痛い方へ. This book is about this young woman named Anno, and she went to ballet school and she decides to quit, and then after quitting ballet school, after a few months, a few years later, she decides, you know what, I am going to live in a tent in my yard. And that's what she does. And she is dating a boy named Akihiro, but basically, and via Akihiro, she meets his grandmother. His grandmother is named A-chan, so A-chan. And even though Anno and Akihiro end up splitting up, she continues her relationship with this A-chan. That's the plot of the book. Now, the writer of this article goes on to explain sort of the themes and the reason, like what it's about. It's a little bit, it's one of those things, like, I think it makes more sense once it's one of those things where like something makes really clear sense when you've read the book, but then if you haven't read the book, you're like, oh, okay, you used a lot of words, not too sure what they are, but you did use a lot of words. That's kind of how I feel about that. It's kind of like book blurbs. A lot of times book blurbs, they try and give you a vibe, but you really have no idea what they're trying to tell you. And then once you read the book, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that works as a blurb, but it doesn't really make sense until you read it. So I think this is kind of the same thing. But he kind of explains about how, like, the name Anno, if you were to read it backwards, so if you were to spell it in its in alphabet, it'd be A-N-N-O. And if you were to read that backwards, it'd be onna, and onna means woman. So the article, the person who wrote this article explains how, because Anno is the backward spelling of onna, it means that she's not very woman-like. She's kind of the opposite of woman, right? And because of that, she kind of clashes with other women. Now, I don't know if she clashes with the grandmother or the grandmother helps of her not clash with other women, but there's some sort of relationship between the grandmother of her ex-boyfriend and her, and it's a book about how women, I guess, treat each other, or how women's society works, the love-hate relationship between women, etc., etc. So that's apparently what the book is about. But, I mean, his other book was kind of wild as well. His other book, the いなくなくならなくならないで, that book was also about female relationships, about a female dynamic where it's like, we're friends, but you're kind of annoying me and I kind of want you to go away. Because that book was basically, this girl had been visited by her friend, but her friend was dead. So her her friend was a ghost, and her friend's ghost is like, hey, can I stay with you? And the girl's like, yeah, you can stay with me, but the ghost overstays her welcome, and she's like, I love you, but please go away, like, I love you, but please die, like, die, like, forever, bye, die. So this author kind of has a tendency to explain female relationships in his books, as I can tell, and I think this is a continuation of this. There's now noise in the background. They're preparing, my neighborhood is preparing their festival, which is taking place today. And so right now everyone's finally come together, and they're doing all like megaphone announcements to describe everyone's role and what they will be doing today, and celebrating a great year ahead. So that's the noise in the background. Hopefully it's not overlapping with my voice too much. But let's get into the fourth and final book that did not win the 173rd Akutagawa Prize, and that is a book by日比野コレコ. And the book is called たえまない光の足し算. たえまない光の足し算. This is a book, たえまない. I had to look up what that word was. And even 足し算, I wasn't familiar with that phrasing. So たえまない means constant, so consistent, constant, always. And then 光 is light, and then 足し算 is addition. So it's the constant addition of light, which I don't really know what that's supposed to mean. I'm sure there's meaning that comes to the title via the book itself. Now this one, the author wrote such a sort of blob. I'm not like just a blob, a jumble of a bunch of words. So I'm not going to write what he wrote. I'm just going to tell you the book basically centers on this current culture that exists in Shinjuku, basically, but like in Kabukicho of Shinjuku. So Kabukicho is the seedy part of Shinjuku, in the sense that it's the red light district. It was a really strong red light district. Right now it's quite touristy because of all the tourists. But back in the day, it wasn't a place that you really entered if you were a foreigner. Now it's like all the flashing lights and the neons and like the restaurants that are trying to attract foreigners. Like it's a lot more touristy. But back in the day, it was definitely seedy, red light. Like if you want to have sex, you go there. If you want to have orgies, you go there. If you want to see strip shows, you go there. It was like very much that kind of district. And Kabukicho still maintains this very sort of seedy, very dirty reputation, although you, as a tourist, you kind of probably don't see that as well as if you were someone who actually knows the Japanese side of things. But now there's this culture that's happening in Kabukicho where these young kids, so like maybe like young teenagers, maybe 14 to 19 or so, they've left their homes, they've either run away or they've left, they've been abandoned by their parents, they've left school because they don't care, they've had a bad reputation with, they've gotten together with the wrong crowd, maybe they started drinking alcohol too, but like basically like kind of ruthless youth who don't really have much of a future because they never got any support or love, or maybe they did get support or love, but they're got into the wrong crowd, etc., etc. So basically just like the lost youth. The issue has been they've been congregating in this particular area, and the book is basically about them. So I don't know what is it about them. There's a main character, his name is Sono, and the author describes him as a clown. He's basically like he can eat a lot of food, but he has a problem with anorexia, and like because of all that he gets, I don't know, it's weird. I don't really get it. So it's just a book about the lost youth in that area of Japan. Now what happens to them, what's the actual plot, how do they interact, I don't know, but it's about that subculture in Japan. So there you go. Those are the 4 books that did not win the 173rd Akutagawa Prize. No winners this time, so we will have to see what happens in the 174th prize, which takes place in the month of January or February. One of those. but I'll see you then. Hopefully I'll be on more on time at that time. So anyway, thank you so much thank you so much always for watching my Akutagawa Prize winners. I hope you enjoyed this one, even though you probably already knew the results since 3 months ago. But anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.